Greetings, YouTube. This door has a problem with its veneer. This is a solid wood door. It's the exterior to the stairways that goes upstairs to my unit. And as you can see, it's not in great shape. Now, in my defense, it didn't look this bad at the beginning of the winter. The winter apparently has been very bad on the veneer. So I need to do something about this. And I don't know anything about veneer. So replacing the veneer on this would be something I would not really be any good at. And then there's a little peephole I put in there so we can actually see outside when we want to. But I do know about metal. So I'm going to cover this whole thing with a piece of aluminum sheeting. And I've got a piece of aluminum sheeting. It is 36 by 36 inches. And the door is 30 inches long, so I'm going to cut off a 6-inch section. Now, 36 inches comes up about halfway through that doorknob, which isn't convenient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then take a section of the cut off and then run it up so it's behind both the doorknob and the door and the lock. That will leave a small section exposed, which I will, in the springtime, go about painting up the rest of this so that it cleans up a little bit better. I also need to take out those thumbtacks. I used to have a sign put on here telling people that this door is not the main entrance because no one will hear you if you knock at it because it's downstairs and there's just no way. The stairway goes up here and then it turns right. We're never hearing you if you knock on this door. If you knock on the door at the top of the stairs, it's even hard to hear because it is also a solid wood door. So yeah, I didn't want people using this, and apparently it pissed off people enough that they tore it off the door. They didn't want to see this. It says, please come around to the other porch, because that's where we can actually hear you, and where there actually is a doorbell. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can get this taken care of. I'm hoping it won't take a horribly long time today. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is go into the basement and cut the 36-inch square piece into a 30-inch and a 6-inch segment, and then come up here and take off those two things, which is not a big deal, and then fit that in. Once it's installed with clamps, I will then be able to figure out how I need to notch out around the doorknob. And once I get that done, I can install it and then use it as the base so that I can then put the strip on the top of it. So I need to know how I need to notch out the bottom of the strip and then the hole that will have to be drilled proper for the lock. I have bits designed specifically for that. I have some really nice cutout drill bits for that, so that's not going to be a problem. And I think I can use them to do that as well because it's very thin aluminum, so I think I can just kind of put a little English on it and make it work. We'll find that out when I get downstairs into the shop. And I have that flange around both of them, so if it isn't a perfect hole, it won't matter a whole lot. You're not going to see it when I'm done. It's going to be covered up. So that means I don't have to take the door down, and again, it's solid wood. I don't even know if I could lift the bloody thing. So first thing I need to do is get to the basement and cut up the aluminum so that it will fit the door, which again, as I said, is 30 inches wide. I think that's probably a standard width for doors in the US. I'm not 100% sure. I don't do a lot of door stuff, so if anybody out there knows that is 30 inches the standard door width for doors, I don't know. I know if I were to build a building from scratch, I would want 36-inch doors because I just like wide doors and it makes it easier for people in wheelchairs. Alrighty, alright, so down to the shop and start cutting. So here we have the piece of aluminum fitted for its initial sizing. So my wife gave me a hand because she had to help me get it up against the hinge, and she made sure it was even on the bottom. So now it's square. Now I've marked the inside with the Sharpie, so now I can take this off, and then I can go downstairs. I need to cut out the hole as well as mark all the holes for the screws I'm going to be using. I don't know if I have enough grommets. I have special grommets that are designed to allow you to use a wood screw, because this is a solid wood door, on something that is softer than wood, so you don't dimple it or split it. So it's a grommet that has a dimple in it so that it will take a fluted wood screw and spread the force out over a larger surface area. I've used it in numerous times in builds I've made, but also I've used it for working with plastic. So I attached, like if you're going to attach plastic to a window frame, which I've done, like polyethylene kind of stuff, plexiglass, that helps you prevent from splitting the plastic, because the wood screw, because it's fluted, would just split the plastic wide open. So these grommets help distribute, dissipate the pressure. I don't know if I have enough of those downstairs. I have to check. I use them quite often, and it didn't occur to me that I'd be doing this, because I think I'm going to need I'll probably put 5 on each side. That's probably what I'll do. Well, 5 on the long, maybe only 4 across. Again, this is just to protect the door from more water and everything, and I'll be putting a bead of silicone across here too when it gets warm enough. Right now it's too cold for silicone. It's like in the 30s at the minute, so don't want to be using silicone in this kind of temperatures. So take this down, go downstairs, drill it, and then mark this thing with all the holes I need for the wood screws, and then count out my grommets and see if I have enough, because I also have to have enough for the piece I'm going to be putting on behind the other lock. It's probably going to come up to about there when I'm finished, just to give it a nice finished look. And that again will make it kind of look like more of a one cohesive operation than the ad hocs what I'm doing right now. And come springtime when it's warmer, I will come back and I can remove this very easily, paint it, seal it, slap it all up back up together again, and make this thing weather tight. But it's going to look a hell of a lot better when I'm finished. I mean, obviously, right now, it looks better than it looked when I started. So now it's time to take this off and drill a whole lot of holes. Well, we have the bottom piece installed, and again, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did. Unfortunately, you can see my reflection. Woohoo! Unfortunately, it wasn't perfect. I did not get it exactly the square as I wanted. I got a gap up there, no gap down there. It's a gap down there, and there's no gap up there. So the whole thing is slightly skewed to the counterclockwise. Unfortunately, when I was setting this up, I was having my wife reference off of that while we were setting up for the clamping, and I didn't realize that while we were doing that, while we were referencing off of that hinge, it wasn't parallel up there, because I can't reach that one. If I could come off both of those, I would have no problem, because I would have had 2 reference points, but I only had 1 reference point. But I did not visually make sure that it was perfectly, or as close as parallel as I could, and I should have, and it's my fault. So that one down there actually has no fastener in it. It's just too much of a buckle in it, so it's just not worth it. But everything else is done. My wife was like, well, should we put tape over the top? I'm like, this thing has got more weather protection right now than it has ever had in its entire existence. Whatever minor water might get behind it right now is much less severe than the water it's been exposed to for the last 20 plus years, or however long this thing's been here. I don't know. The people that put this together were not qualified. I mean, look at the top of that door. Yeah. When we got here, this entire stairwell had no support under it, other than the planks that I'm standing on. Well, not these planks. These planks are replaced because we had new planks put in. No, but the surface of this porch was the only thing holding those stairs up when we moved in. So when we replaced the surface, the deck on this, I had them put in bracing, so that now there's actually bracing underneath this stairwell, holding the stairwell in place, preventing it from moving any further, because obviously it probably slipped over the years, which is why that gap exists, because it probably didn't exist, when it was just installed. But who knows? Maybe it did. There are so many kludge together things on my house. It was not done for professionals well before I ever owned it. Alrighty, so now I need to go cut a 6x10 piece of flashing for that, and mark it, drill it, install it, and then I'm done with the project for the day. Again, I will come back and worry about the sealing of this with silicone, and when it's a far warmer, drier day. Today is cold and raining and raw and unpleasant. Why am I out here? Because Sunday is the only day of the week I really have enough time to do stuff like this and be awake and conscious. Alrighty, down to the basement and one more piece. And there we have the finished project. I know it's really bright and shiny out here right now. I apologize. The sun has come out. I'm not real happy about it because now it means that I'm in the direct sunlight. I really don't like being in direct sunlight. Pardon the traffic noises, I am outdoors. So there you go. I will, again, when the weather's a little bit warmer and more consistent, like I said, it was when I started this project, it was in the 30s, and now it's kind of supposed to be creeping up to the 60s this afternoon. Welcome to New England in March. But it's done. I've plated it. I will seal it with silicone at a later date, but again, it's got far more weather protection now at the moment than it's ever had in the past. I'll eventually pull out those safety pin, those thumbtacks, and I'll paint the door white, the parts it's showing, so you know it'll look better than it does now. But right now it looks much better because you can't see all the peeling veneer, and it has a much more finished appearance, which I really appreciate. And it kind of got that vaguely vibe of a lab. It makes me think of a lab or an industrial space, and I'm okay with that. I work in industrial spaces all day long. I had to eventually take a manual file to the sheeting because the hole cutter I had wasn't quite the right size. The ones on the bottom didn't need much tweaking at all. That was almost perfect. But the one up there, the outside plate is designed to really fit into that hole for security reasons. So I had to kind of put a little muscle behind that and file that out until it fit, which is annoying because I don't like having to manually do things. But I didn't want to have to run an extension cord down here so I could use my Dremel tool. In my power drill, my cordless drill doesn't have the RPMs to drive a Dremel bit fast enough to really function properly, because you really have to have a higher number of RPMs to make that Dremel bit function right. So I ended up doing it by hand with the file. It's annoying, but you know, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do to get the project finished. So there you go, one finished door. Yay for a door! So my camera's about to die, so I'm going to wrap this up and say thank you for being here for this crafting video. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you come back for the next one. If you have not visited my DeviantArt page and my Instagram page, the DeviantArt page is where I catalog my weapon builds, and my Instagram page at the moment is full of cat pictures because we got a kitten recently, but normally it's full of bargains and kittens and what have you, and projects I do and things I find, so you might find that interesting, so follow me there. Alrighty, so thanks for being here, and I hope you'll be back for the next one.